We're making shepherd's pie.
Hey, honey.
So welcome to another round of What's for Dinner, Mom. I am Mom, and I will be making shepherd's pie tonight. And as I was thinking this recipe through, I didn't realize I had so much to say about shepherd's pie. So let's get to it. One thing we're gonna get out of the way right away is that what I am making tonight is technically cottage pie because I have ground beef. If it was shepherd's pie, I would be making it with ground lamb, but I have not been able to find ground lamb. So technically it's cottage pie, but I am going to probably just be referring to it as shepherd's pie as I roll along. Now, this came about as an idea for dinner. A few years ago, my family and I, we went to, we have an open air working museum here in the Midwest called Living History Farms. And they demonstrate through actual farms and people working farming techniques, animals, food, things like that throughout various centuries of Iowa. And we walked into the 1900s farm and she was making shepherd's pie and it smelled amazing. And my kids, who aren't big casserole fans, like, ooh, that smells so good. And I said, well, if I make that, would you eat it? And they're like, yeah. Well, okay then. We gave it a try and we really enjoyed it. So it makes probably at least once a month during the winter months. I would consider it more of a comfort food, winter month food. But so we've got our ingredients rounded up here. Let's see, we've got beef and veggies that'll go in later. The whole idea behind shepherd's pie was it was a way to use up your extra garden scraps that you had on your little farm laying around. I do like a little bit of wine in mine. Probably not something that the 1900 Iowans had, but I put it in mine because I like it. Some beef broth or beef stock. Trio, 3 out of 4 of the Scarborough Fair herbs. Parsley, rosemary, thyme. Just missing some sage. I'm sure you could throw some sage in there too. You could, I mean, again, it's using up scraps, so put in whatever you have that smells good and sounds good in your shepherd's pie. We'll get making. We're gonna chop up our onion, get that in our skillet with our burger. Once that is all browned up, then it's just a matter of making kind of a, I suppose, gravy sauce to mix everything else in with. That's gonna go in that's all being done in the cast iron skillet back here. And then we're gonna top that with some mashed potatoes, which I have made earlier. If this is starting to sound like overwhelming, it's really pretty easy. If you have fresh vegetables, you can chop them up and use fresh vegetables. I have done that before. I tend to throw that in with the, after the beef is done, while I'm making my gravy when I've done that. It is a lot of extra work, so frozen veggies is usually what I use. Also, the mashed potatoes, you can make them. If you really need shortcuts, I suppose you could try instant mashed potatoes. I have never tried instant mashed potatoes on my cottage pie, my shepherd's pie, but give it a try. Or swing by your local deli and buy some mashed potatoes to go on top. Whatever you need to do to make your life easier. Last ingredient that I want to talk about before we get started. This. So for years, I grew up calling this, let's see if I can remember, Worcestershire sauce. And then a year or so ago, I was watching a cooking video. I believe they were based in Britain and there were some Scots people watching it. No, I'm sorry. The cook was American. There were some Scots people watching her and they started laughing when she said Worcestershire sauce. They're like, what? Like, isn't it just Worcestershire sauce? That's 3 syllables versus 5. I don't know. Worcestershire? So I guess I've tried to call it Worcestershire sauce from now on. think I have a helper waiting in the wings for this next part. All right, you wanted help with this? So just start
Scooping.
scooping.
Mashed potatoes look good too.
They're delicious. Dad and I have let's spread these around. Then this is just going to go in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes. I think 400 degrees should do it. And then we are gonna get those, that'll get those potatoes nice and golden, little tiny bits of crunch on the top. And we'll dig in.